1930s, change was wanted. Let's speak up, women realize frustration about the cult of domesticity. Women at home take out the trash, wait for the men to earn the cash. The standards of society, they could not agree.
Especially after industrialization, the cult of domesticity was emphasized, where men and women had separate spheres of activity, so when the men were out working in the economic sphere, they would come home to their wives who would cook, clean, take care of the children, and create an environment where their husbands could come home to rest.
Property, marriage rights, male power on female lives.
Women had many restrictions on marriage and property rights, such as their right to own anything in their name, not being able to conduct trade, sign their own contracts, write a will, be safe from physical force used by husband, and keeping custody of their children in case of divorce. They fought back by writing, speaking, and petitioning to influence elected officials and other women. For example, in 1854, Lucy Stone wrote against the oppressive male power in marriage to her friend.
1840, anti-slavery kicked out because you're a lady. Declaration listed remarks, their sentiments lighted us fire. Misogyny must defy, we will stand here very firmly.
During the early mid-1800s, abolitionist movements were taking place throughout the northern half of America. Women were leading activists, yet they were shunned from taking part in campaigns due to their gender. For example, in the Anti-Slavery Convention of 1840, held in London, women sought to participate, but they were rejected. Elizabeth Stanton and Lucretia Mott met there and became companions, where they sought equal representation for movements like these.
We women started the fire, it was always burning since the world's been turning. We women started the fire, no we didn't like it, so we tried to fight it. Start of movement, Seneca Falls, women's suffrage freedom calls. Better treatment, equal rights, for these things we gotta fight. Sentiments intensified, we cannot just abide. People joined in the plight, through all this we did unite.
Created by Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Lucretia Mott in 1848, the Seneca Falls Convention sought to discuss and improve women's rights in America. During their speech to their audience, they addressed the following of what they wished to achieve: representation in government, laws that prevented husbands from abusing their wives, the right to possess wages that one earns, the right to possess property, the right to one's children, the right to vote, and finally, the equality between men and women.
Stanton along with Mott, freedom from oppression sought, declaration of sentiments, voting for the president, return rights, equality, let's make this reality. New York State 1848 began the change for liberty.
Written by Stanton, the Declaration of Sentiments was created with the help and voice of all the women present during the Seneca Falls Convention. It addressed all of the issues they wished to reform, the most prominent being women's suffrage. This declaration frequently showed up decades after, setting up future conventions and lobbying supporters, and eventually leading to the adoption of the 19th Amendment, which allowed women to vote. The women's rights movement continued into the 1900s, greatly influenced by this initial spark.
We women started the fire, it was always burning since the world's been turning. We women started the fire, no we didn't like it, so we tried to fight it. Others joined as they stood to discuss all what they could. 51 changes wanted, children interest spoke about it. We do as much, we eat as much, we want as much. She stated such, fight for our rights, she said to them, ain't I a woman? Opposition marked the movement nobody could represent, yet it had much success. There are things we must not forget. Set precedents, fueled movements for future women discontent. 7 decades present, women's suffrage development. We women started the fire, it was always burning since the world's been turning. We women started the fire, no we didn't like it, so we tried to fight it. Here came those who opposed the movement that was proposed.
They deserve no rights.
Southerners critical pressed the NAOWS. Said women don't wish to vote, belong back in the house. They wrote irrational, emotional, can't handle things political. Always men superior, women deemed inferior, and we still stuck with our way. What else do I have to say?
Women faced a lot of opposition to reform. In the press, newspapers ridiculed women's attempts advocating for rights. The main issue criticized was women's suffrage. It was viewed as too radical. Southerners saw the movement as one with relation to anti-slavery movements, which they condemned, and men disapproved of women's attempts to achieve social equality with them.
We women started the fire, it was always burning since the world's been turning. We women started the fire, no we didn't like it, so we tried to fight it. role. Margaret Sanger achieved her goal. 1920 Amendment signed, and 19 lets us vote in pride. Seneca Falls lit the flame. Suffrage and fierce campaigns came. Though it wasn't ratified, the Equal Rights Amendment tried.
A leading lasting impact of the women's rights movement was the ratification of the 19th Amendment in 1920. After decades of protesting, women were granted the right to vote, which had been discussed 70 years before in the Declaration of Sentiments. While birth control and abortion was depraved and illegal, Sanger took action for the benefit of women during the early 20th century to control the size of their families in a safe and legal way, following the campaigns for different sections of women's rights, beginning from the ones in the 1800s.
Although we won, we still run from sexism, and it's no fun they started. It gave us a voice, but yet too early to rejoice. Unequal pay, economy, abortion rights taken away. Equality's all we implore, I can't take it anymore.
Success was measured state by state, some states granting women the right to own property or have custody of their children, others giving them easier access to divorce, on the grounds of drunkenness, desertion, or cruelty.
We women started the fire.